When I'm saying divine masculine, what am I actually talking about? I have a lot of clients that feel like their man isn't able to hold them well enough. And when they actually hold space for their man in their divine femininity, they get to see their man just blossom and bloom. Once you can hold that space for your man, welcome, wisdom keepers, soul tribe, and new earth leaders to Soul Temple, your haven for self-discovery and growth. I'm Blythe Langford, and I am your guide to finding yourself and your true purpose. Together, let's shift from feeling stuck and misaligned to living a life of purpose and prosperity. Divine masculine and feminine. Now, I am so excited to bring you this episode. In this episode, we are going to talk about what divine masculine and feminine looks like today, what it looks like within your body, what it looks like within a career, a relationship, within society. But first of all, I'm going to start off with our cultural programming, because a few years ago, it was probably about 7 years ago, I was running down the beach and I just had this full-on download, and it was very intense, and I'm going to share it with you. I realized that during the war, men were taken away from their families so that women could enter the workforce. It was the start of the breakdown of the family unit. It was the breakdown of having strong masculine figures for our boys so that our boys could be easily manipulated and the whole of society could be changed. So whilst the men are away at war, the women go into the workforce, not as much nurturing for the family and for these children, and the system can start to come in and look after the children and help out the families by programming these little kids, right? Then over time, there was the feminist movement. Now, my mother was a part of this feminist movement, so I know this very clearly. The feminist movement is a toxic feminine agenda. This agenda was created to disempower and emancipate our men and our boys, so that our boys could think that they are inferior to women and that they owed women something. And that women could finally think that, okay, I've been serving my man around the house, I've been this amazing caretaker, and it's my turn to go out and fend for my family and look after my children in a different way and make the money and do all of these things. And I also want to preface that I am not against any which way. I was brought up by a feminist, so I'm just explaining to you a channel that came through for me. So this feminist movement was all about burning the bras, about women's liberation. But was it? How are we liberating our women? Liberating toxic femininity or divine femininity? Because what a lot of these women were actually doing was just hating on men. They were literally not liberating women at all in their femininity. Sure that they were creating equal rights in so many areas, and I'm so here for that. I am so here for equality. But also I'm here for the men. I'm here for those little boys that were put down and shut down and were being birthed into a womb where the mother hated men. So what do you think happened to a lot of these little boys? They grew up very feminine. They grew up gay. They grew up doing anything to gain their mother's love. Because can you imagine being a little boy knowing that your mother hates men? What would that do to you? Who would you need to become? You'd become feminine because you thought that if you were anything else, if you thought that if you were a masculine man, your mother would hate you. And so your primal nature would make sure that you were not that. Your primitive nature would make sure that you were going to survive in this world and have you be more feminine. So I think the system did a really great job, don't you? Did a really great job controlling and narrating our women to be toxic feminists so that our little boys could be emancipated in their masculinity. And so this really saddens me. And there's also a book coming on this. Believe me, I'm going to write a book on it because I've had quite a few downloads about this. And this is where I personally believe that we as women, whilst we're all about women's liberation and being successful in a career and our relationships, it's also about us as women coming back into our divine femininity, but also supporting the men that have been emancipated. the men that have been let down by women. Like when I got this download, I was like, oh my gosh, I love men so much. Like it just makes me want to cry thinking about all the beautiful men. And I'm talking generations of men that have been raised by women that hate men. And we're talking about women's liberation. We also need to be talking about supporting our men so that they can come back into their divinity. So I hear you when you say, yeah, but men have done all of this. Men have raped and pillaged and they've done all of these terrible things. They had mothers that hated them. On some level, their body knows that their mother hated men and they could never be their true, authentic self. So, women, it is our job to provide a safe space for men in all areas so that they and their bodies can start to feel safe enough to come into their true masculinity. Because I see so many women, and I have been that woman in careers and in relationships that has been in my masculine, thinking that I'm a strong woman and am emancipating my man and am emancipating the men around me. So how can we show up in a different way in our strength and in our divine femininity so that we create this beautiful, safe container, whether it be in a workplace or in a relationship where our men can thrive. And when our men are thriving, then they feel safe enough to hold us. And then we come into our divine femininity. I know that there's so many women out there that are just like, no, that's not how it needs to be. Men need to hold me first. Men need to hold me first so that I can feel safe, so that I can just be a complete, utter, beautiful feminine goddess. Well, feminine goddess. It needs to be the divine coming together so that your man knows that he's not dealing with another toxic woman. They're not bringing anything to the relationship. It needs to be a divine union of both, the masculine and the feminine. Now, I should also preface divine masculine, divine feminine, toxic masculine, because these are different areas. I totally get it. So let's go into that a bit as well. When I'm saying divine feminine and divine masculine, what am I actually talking about? So, if we can, in their nature, their pure nature, think about a masculine man that is in his divinity. For me, it sounds like a knight, somebody that's grounded in his energy, yet he is really assertive and is going to speak his truth, but not in a way that's so penetrative that it's harmful, in a way that's respectful, in a way that has integrity and honor. That to me is a divine masculine, somebody that's able to be able to hold their feminine, somebody that's able to listen to a woman without being reactive, without being aggressive, but actually holding space and having the strength to not be able to be reactive, but just being able to listen and then in time have an answer in their own space, in their own time. Divine feminine, that strong creative flow that flows through us, that's respectful, nurturing, motherly, caring. That is the feminine aspect of thyself. The divine masculine, the divine feminine, when they are co-creating, whether it be two different people or whether it be the one person, that is what it means to be an embodied leader or an embodied man or woman, when both elements are co-creating the wholeness of that being. Now let's go into toxic masculine and toxic femininity, because they are constructs that have been infiltrated and we have them within us no matter what. If we're in this world at some moment in time, if we've been on social media, if we've been watching TV when we've grown up, we've got toxic masculinity and femininity within us. I know I do, and I know that the more I work on myself, the less the toxicity is there and the more I'm able to catch it and honor it and respect it and know that it's just a younger part of myself that is actually just needing some attention or needing some care, or it's where I've actually come out of alignment and get to come back into my organic state of being, which is divine masculine and feminine. synthetic and toxic masculine is that scary predator energy, that leaky predator, sexual leaky energy that is using, that is putting down, that is overbearing and unnecessarily violent. That is that toxic masculinity. Toxic femininity. Neither is worse, but for myself personally, it's what makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit, because I was raised by a toxic feminine woman who I absolutely love and adore. Let's get that straight. I love and adore my mother, but also the toxic femininity is whore trading. And when I say whore, yes, I'm talking about prostitution trading. It's give to take. Like, I'll get something from you by giving you this. It's how can I manipulate and use my sexual energy for the benefit of myself, evil, whatever you want to call it. It is that putting down and needing to be better than, and pointing the finger of blame and using guilt and shaming other people, that real guilt and shame energy, which is just so ingrained into all of us, unfortunately, at some level. That's the difference between the toxic femininity, the toxic masculine, and the divine feminine and the divine masculine. So just to create a little bit of point of difference there. When we are living from a toxic state, even if we're a woman, we could be living from toxic masculine wounding. And that can be somebody that's come up super high in their career, that's willing to screw people over to get to the top, that's willing to use their energy for their own benefit and for the benefit of superficial things, and where we are literally causing harm and detriment to the earth or to other beings. I know, because I've been that. I have been willing to, in my youth, willing to do whatever it is needed to get the guy that I want, to be able to manipulate. Oh, I remember one time I had the biggest crush on this guy all through high school. I was overweight in high school for a few years and he wasn't interested in me. And then I left high school, got super hot, and he wanted to be with me. And then when we were together, the sex wasn't that great. And I totally put him down in that moment. I shamed him. And just yuck, like I did that, like that was me. I know what it's like to be toxic and feminine, and we've all got these aspects within us. Just be aware of ourselves so that we no longer shame anybody. I will never shame a man like that again. It gives me goosebumps, like thinking the things that I've done in my past. And we're all like that. And I've seen what it's done to my father. He had 5 mums. He had a wife that was like toxic and feminine that all put him down. And after he died, like I ran to the end of the street to my precious sacred waterfall, and there's a book that's going to come through. And it's like honoring the men. Like, how can I honor men so that we can, the only way there's going to be a big shift on this planet is that we honor each other. And women, you're like, yeah, I want the men to honor me. Well, maybe we need to go first. It's okay. Like, maybe we need to go at the same time. That whilst we're birthing what it is that we're going to be, how we're going to be healing the masculine, maybe they're doing the same and they're doing their work so that they can heal the feminine too, because what is within is without, what is without is within. So let's co-create this beautiful divine relationship and earth together. Take that as an invitation to you whilst you're healing your masculine wounds and healing what the masculine has potentially done to you. On the other side of your trauma, of what has been done to you by penetrative man, by a man that uses and abuses women, is pure love. Not for them necessarily, maybe, hopefully, but there is pure love for the divinity of a man, because gosh, I love men. I love women too. I just love love. But gosh, men, like think about this, women. I was doing a program by a woman who I absolutely love and adore. Her name's actually Tara Fisher, and I love this woman. I think she's amazing. But she did this masculine and feminine workshop. It was tantric and super beautiful. And I did all of the tantric learnings from her because it was actually about divinity. And what she actually taught us was that men, when you think about it, women, like we never think about this. Our genitalia is within our body. It's safe and protected at all times. Men are open and exposed at every moment in time. Their genitals are literally hanging out of their body. Our genitals have their own consciousness, right? So we never actually think about from a men's point of view, like they're out there into the world vulnerable. Men are so vulnerable compared to women in this world. And we don't actually take the time as women to actually think about men and what they've gone through and what they suffer. Like we laugh when they get kicked in the balls and they're in pain. Like, can you imagine that? We don't even take time to think about these things. I think just having a level of consideration and respect for men and their journey on this earth, and considering that they've got mothers that have hated men and they've grown up in that, that in itself breaks my heart. And I know how much that has impacted my brothers and my brother's spiritual brothers and physical brother. And, you know, my past being around an industry that was all about synthetic masculine and femininity, and how it has impacted so many men in that industry and so many men across the world is just huge. But I also want to touch on how this affects men and women in relationships, because I often see women in relationships that are in their toxic femininity, right? They think that they're the strong feminine, but they're actually constantly shaming their men and shaming their boys for things that they're doing. So it's just about being aware of when this is happening for you and how you can choose something different. I have a lot of clients that feel like their man isn't able to hold them well enough, and they're constantly shaming their man. And when they actually hold space for their man in their divine femininity, they get to see their man just blossom and bloom into this divine masculine that's able to hold them, support them, love them, make love to them in a completely different way and space that is just changes them above all. It's amazing. So once you can hold that space for your man, obviously there may need to be some trauma healing that comes first, but once you do that, then your whole world changes. Your relationship changes. Your man becomes a man because he knows that you no longer need to be the man in the relationship, that you are allowing yourself to drop into your femininity and be held and loved and nurtured, that you don't need to be the one that does everything. And because then what's the man's role? Like, what's his role even in the business, in the relationship? Like, what are you leaving him to do? To just pick up the pieces, to hold your handbag? Like, at the end of the day, like, that's not actually what you want. Like, you want somebody to hold you and ravish you. Please use this as an invitation to allow there to be something else for you in your relationship and in your business and in your life as well. Now, I know a lot of this might be new concepts for you. I know that for me, it really was. And a lot of the spaces and containers and personal development and retreats and teachings, because I've done, I spent $1 million on personal development over the last 20 years. $1 million. So I think probably over now. The whole point of all of this is to create a space where you can learn about yourself, heal what's going on in your relationships, in your career, in your business, in your life, within your body. And the reason that I'd spent so much time and money, 20 years and over $1 million, because I wasn't finding places where all of this was being worked on. I was so passionate about, and I still am so passionate about, all of us having these beautiful safe spaces to find out who we are and how we can evolve and grow and nurture ourselves and find out about our masculine and our feminine, and play with our toxic masculine and our toxic feminine as well, and figure out what their needs are and what that actually is within our bodies. Because for me, a huge part of what I do and what I teach and what is on my programs and retreats is figuring out who you are. And then figuring out, is that from trauma? Where did this come from? Why is it there? And when you are triggered by something, that's something that is triggering within you because it's unresolved, it's unaligned, it's needing some attention. So where can you find the space to get this safe container to be able to go into you and find out all about yourself, the little nooks and crannies, the consciousness of each part of your body? That's why I created this space. That's why my dad brought me to this land, so that we could create a healing space, a healing container, both online and in our retreats, that was like nothing else out there, because there is so many gaps in a lot of the retreats that are offered, in a lot of the programs that are offered. You can concentrate on your business, yet you're incongruent with your masculinity and femininity within. Yet you're incongruent in your relationship with your divine partner, yet you're trying to have a relationship within your business with the men there. Like we're in relationship everywhere. Relationship is everything. How we relate to ourselves, how we relate to others, our business, our partners, our kids, nature, the trees. Everything is a masculine and feminine relationship. So it is so important to be able to learn how to relate authentically with everything, with nature. And for me, there is no separation between nature, between the masculine and between the feminine. Nature is the perfect embodiment of all of that. And so with my programs and my retreats, learning to connect your body, your vessel, first and foremost, to what is going on within you and with nature is vital for everything else that's going to come into your life. So whether it be a business, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a child, a puppy, a house, it's so vitally important that you are able to have this co-creation with everything that is going on in your world. That's why, for me, this retreat center, for the programs that I offer, they are so different to everything else. I call it the divinity method. The divinity is this space. It is the flow of nature. It is the flow that you're cultivating in the world. It is the flow that you're wanting to step into because it is who you were born here to be. So in closing, I would love you to use this as an opportunity to be responsible for your energy and aware of where you're at in any moment in time, because what we are feeling on the inside creates ripples in the vibration, in the frequency, in the resonance that we are putting out there to the world. So we all have a divine resonance within us that is expressing itself to the field. So when you notice yourself slipping into shaming yourself or anybody else, or guilting yourself or anybody else, just tune into your heart again. Just tune into your heart, come back into your divinity, come back into your divine masculine, your divine feminine, which is the collaboration of both of those things. And then start to cultivate that energy within you and just work with your energies. Even just becoming aware of toxicity and divinity will allow you to be able to make such dramatic shifts within yourself, within your body, within your life that are going to positively affect the planet. So remember, you have the ability to change your energy and create a positive ripple out there into the world. Thank you for joining me on Soul Temple. If this episode spoke to your soul, I would love your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And do not forget to subscribe on your favorite platform. But don't let your journey end here. Connect with me and my like-minded community of souls at Blythe Langford on all social platforms. I really look forward to diving deeper with you on your journey.